There's your theme right there. Hi, everybody. John Harris here of the Cheap Seats, and I'm with my pal Billy Smith. And we're going to rock and roll in just a second. Here's a little bit of sports news for you. But before we get started, I want to thank our pal Dennis and Graldi from Vinyl and Realty Corporation. Hey, remembered it early, Bill. You didn't have to remind me.
There you go.
Got it written right here, real big, typed up.
Hey.
Dennis first. My pal Dennis from Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. 856-690-9482 is their phone number. You have a residential or business property need, whether you want to rent something out, buy, sell. If it's a business, whether it's a house, an apartment, whatever, condo. Dennis and the crew at 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. If you're in the South Jersey area, Dennis can help you. And all the folks down there will help you as much as they can. And if they can't do it themselves, they're very good at getting resources to help people. So you might want to give them a shout. That's Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. Tell them you were sent by the Cheaps from the Cheap Seats or Public John Media, either one. And their number 856-690-9482. We thank Dennis and the whole crew down there for all their hard work and keeping us going here from the Cheap Seats and from all of Public John Media. So Billy, we got a little bit of sports news from the NFL. Of course, we already knew that the Chiefs beat the Eagles, and that was a tough game for me to watch, but there it is. And there was who put the tweet out? Oh, I think it was Juju Smith-Schuster about on Valentine's Day, the hold penalty. I was like, it was funny, but I'm thinking, most people, players and other people involved with the NFL as well as reporters think he crossed the line there.
Right.
And probably did, especially since Gardner or the guy covering him admitted that it was a hold. You know what I mean? He admitted it. He stepped up. So why you got to break his chops after that?
Yeah.
That's the bad part. But the good part is it was funny. So and AJ Brown got him back saying congratulations. And then he had a little dig on Schuster, and at the end, but then again, you did win. Congratulations.
Right.
I was like, nice. So it's starting up already. You never know if they say each other in the Super Bowl again. It could be fun.
Yeah.
But both
I see
teams,
some Eagle fans on Facebook. They showed a picture of a face mask that was not called,
yeah, I saw that too.
like,
You know what?
it's
You've got those plays every game. Let's
yeah,
face it. The one rant I went on about it was if you look, I kind of liked it because there were absolutely zero offensive holding calls on either team.
right,
None.
right.
The only holding call really was that last defensive holding call that set up the Chiefs being able to kill the clock. And like here's my argument. And let's face it, I had a dog in a hunt, but I actually had two dogs in the hunt, so I couldn't pick one over the other. It was tough,
Right.
which is like somebody else hating both teams. And I love both teams, so it's tough for me since I was a kid. To me, the whole thing was, and it happens in every sport, you hear, how do you make that call at the end of a game? You hear it, especially in the NBA all the time. How do you make that foul call? Or how do you make that traveling call? Did he foul? Did he travel? How
I
did
totally
he
agree with you,
goaltend? Make the
Don't
call. Now, don't
yeah,
get me
you don't
wrong. I think it took a big set of cojones for the official to
yeah,
make that call. And anybody that makes those calls, it takes a big set. You got to
yeah,
realize that
yeah.
you're going to hear about it. I give the ref that official a lot of props for having the gonads to make
Mhm.
that call. I'm not sure. I don't think I got killed on YouTube yet. I think gonads is a medical term. I think I'm okay so far. I did have to check the inappropriate not for kids box last week. But I think the key is there was you know, the guy said he made the call. Hey, you didn't have to break his chops anymore. It
Right.
was
Yeah.
funny, but you didn't have to do it on Twitter so everybody in the world can see it. You know, maybe
Right.
figure out a different way. But it is what it is. It's the pettiness of sport that sometimes is entertaining.
Yes.
That's almost as much entertainment sometimes as the actual games themselves. You never know.
Yep.
Um, Speaking of that, you had Aaron Rodgers. He went into his little hibernation mode and um, came
You
out
mean
like the groundhog.
the drama queen?
He is a drama queen, and he came out like the groundhog, and probably going to have 6 more weeks of Rodgers, 6 more years of Rodgers. Who knows? You know, we talked off camera. You know, if you have a team that needs a quarterback, do you want him? Because if he has a bad season, you're going to go through this every time.
Yep.
Or if your team has a bad season, you're going to go through this every off season.
Yeah. And he blames his teammates. He never blames himself for
Yeah, he blames his teammates. We don't have the receivers to get open. How do you feel if you're one of those young receivers?
anything.
Give me a break. Move, just you know, shut your pie hole. Go play in
Yeah.
the dark or whatever the hell it is you do,
Yeah.
and you're going to get $40 million. Shut your pie hole and play football the best you can, and try to make something of yourself and your team. You know,
Yes.
shut up. So it's just too
I
much.
agree.
The first year, I kind of saw his point. He had some point, but now this is like the third straight postseason or whatever it is that he's just. I mean, I think he works at a vineyard because he's a whiner. Shut up, dude. And do something with your friggin' hair for Christ's sake. But that's nothing. That's petty. But then again, I'm
That's
all about. But then again, I'm all about petty bullshit today. So,
hey,
um,
hey, John,
yeah.
tell us how you really feel.
Change the show to speak your mind, John. For Christ's sake.
Yeah. Last week was Mel Kiper.
Oh, I looked them up, and you're gonna get me started. I'm trying, buddy. See, you set me up for that. That's you. Mel friggin' Kiper, that inaccurate back. You know what I looked up? I think I texted you later, and he's not much better as Todd McFrickin' Shea. Is
All right.
27% accurate on his picks. 27%, of which the first 3 or 4 in the first round are basically gimmies.
Yes.
They're easy ones. This guy's going to go here. He's a quarterback and they need one. This guy's going to go. Now, this year is going to get interesting because the Bears have the first pick. He might screw that up. McShay,
Yeah.
a limb, I'll give him credit, saying that he thinks the Bears will trade the pick and keep Justin Fields. Dingleberry hasn't said anything yet. Whatever. McShay, nothing yet. And that is an interesting question. Do the Bears think Justin Fields is their quarterback of the future? If so, you don't draft that quarterback at the top, Bryce Young. All right.
Right.
So if I'm the Bears, that trade deal sounds like a good idea. You trade down, maybe get an extra pick, even if it's a second rounder, and keep that other team's first rounder, and help out on the line or get Fields some weapons, or help out in a weak area that you have. So that would be interesting. And that almost tells you which way they're going to go. Because if they draft another quarterback, then is Justin Fields available for a trade? So now,
Yeah. I mean, I could see him picking and trading him to somebody else. It might not just a team drop
right.
moving up,
And that's the
picking
other
him,
part.
but
I could
Chicago
see him
could pick
being
him and then trade him.
drafted and then the draft pick being traded for
Right.
a couple of things.
Or like you said, they could pick him and then trade Fields.
And remember, Fields is still on his rookie, first 4-year contract,
Right.
and the new
Right. So
kid will be too. So they're not getting exorbitant money yet. You might draft them, keep them both, like the Packers drafted Jordan Love, and keep them and see what happens. And if things don't get better in Chicago, maybe you give the kid a shot down the road and trade Fields again. You don't know. So who knows? You're right, but it's 27 freaking %. All
Yeah.
right,
Come on, Mel.
we've got that's it, and it's
Come on, Mel.
here's come on, Mel. Come on, ESPN, get us somebody that's a little bit accurate,
Yeah.
for Christ's sake. Billy, you
You
and
put
I
us
could
on
do
there.
better than 27%, and we don't sit there glued to college football. Just
Correct.
give me a list of the guys, give me some stats. I'll go back and look at tape like these clowns do.
Yeah.
And you and I could make those same picks. We could have a mock draft if we wanted to. Problem is, I don't really want to. It just, I don't know
Maybe,
about you.
maybe we'll do. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, the jury's out. Maybe we'll have a mock
So we can
2 round
make
draft.
fun of
We don't
Mel
need to do
Kiper the whole
7
time.
friggin' rounds, okay?
No,
Uh,
we'll just do the first two
Maybe we'll just do the
rounders.
first 2 rounds or something for you guys one night as a special or something. We'll film it, we'll tape it. Here you got, hey, here's Joe Blow from the University of Hamilton. And he's gonna play for who knows? Who cares?
Or we could do it during the draft. That's what we could do
We
it. Then
could,
we could.
yeah, or we could have a special during the first 2 rounds of the draft and go, wow, that's great. Wow,
There goes
Kuiper
Kiper.
was
That's
wrong
who he
again.
said.
And I'll have Kuiper's picks over here on this screen. ESPN going. We could both have ESPN going. Oh, Bill, did you see that? What a shock! Kuiper's wrong again. You did this to me. We could have had a shorter show. We just blew 5 minutes. Thanks a lot, Pally.
Don't mention it.
But let's chat. We've got that. Eric Bieniemy, the new OC, had his press conference today for Washington. Well dressed and presented himself very well. Did talk in the third person a lot. He did say, Bieniemy likes this, Bieniemy likes that, Bieniemy likes that. So he did do that a lot. But you got to remember, he was a pretty good player in his day, and during that generation, that's how they did speak about themselves. I mean, the perfect example was prime time. Prime says, I mean, it was, but he did present himself pretty well. He did come out and say that they're going to look at making Sam Howell the quarterback for DC, the starter, and see where we go from there. Yeah, I think he needs a couple weapons. I think DC will get a nice draft pick or 2. So you never know. Maybe they'll sign a couple guys. I think the defense is pretty good. They just need a little bit more help on offense, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe.
no, I totally agree. And a lot of people are saying, why would you make a lateral move? Well, first, I think his contract was expired from
It was. His
the
contract
league,
was
so
expired.
that's one. And
If
number
nobody
two,
made him an offer, KC would have re-signed him. But
yeah, maybe Washington offered him, something in the future. I mean, hey, I don't
yeah,
know how much longer.
well, I think the other part, Andy Reid actually did come out and say it would be great for Eric Bieniemy to be able to go to a place where he can run the offensive show, because he really didn't call the plays in KC. Andy Reid did.
Right.
But he did supposedly help a lot with the game planning, was involved in it extensively. And I guess he made some observations. He went to Andy Reid at halftime of the Super Bowl, because Andy Reid was thanking him, going, Eric Bieniemy was the man at halftime as far as the offense was concerned. We needed to make some adjustments, and he was. So, I mean, Andy Reid was giving him props. But he said he needs he actually said the word crime. He said it's criminal that Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten hired as a head coach. He's went on 15 interviews. Come on, guy. He's an OC.
Yeah.
15 interviews.
Like I
Never
said,
got
maybe
maybe he
he's
doesn't
not.
interview
And then
well.
yeah, I mean,
Who
and
knows?
the thing is, yeah, in DC probably said, Riverboat Run, he's not going to
Yeah,
be around forever.
right.
So I mean,
Well, that's the other
they
part.
might have
He's
said,
already had health issues. He's been coaching a long time. If Bieniemy does a nice job with Washington's offense, he could be. I think he is considered the assistant head coach.
right.
Might want to check on that, but I think he is. I think he's the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach. And with the cancer bouts Rivera's had, you never know. That could come into play at any time. So, and like you said, maybe Rivera's going to say after a season or 2 more, I'm out of here. I'm tired. I'm ready to just ride off into the sunset, go out on my riverboat and do what I want.
Yeah.
So you never know. And
But
it's also a chance for Bieniemy to set himself up to take another shot at being a head coach somewhere. Maybe he does a nice job. So
But offensively, Washington, they got McLaurin,
Mhm.
and they got the rookie running back Brian Robinson. So I mean,
Yep.
you got to get some pieces. Just most like teams in the NFL, you need offensive line help.
They got another receiver too who I like. Was a rookie this year.
Um,
I want to say Gibson.
yeah.
Is it
And
Gibson
Gibson's the
or
running back.
I can't.
Gibson's the running back.
Yeah, but he had a pretty good season.
I can't think of his name right now.
So I think they got some potential. Um, it'll be interesting because you got Philly in there and you got Dallas in there and Giants. That's actually a pretty good division now. A lot better than people thought before the last season started. They thought they were
Mm,
going to be the NFC least, they were saying, uh, and
yeah.
that the AFC West would be the best one. But the Chiefs basically took the AFC West. I mean, they had a little bit of a challenge in the beginning from the Chargers, but that was it. So, um, and then the Chargers tailed off. So I think, I mean, obviously as it gets closer, we'll discuss it, but I think Washington's going to be better. I think their offense is going to be better. I think it'll be more fun to watch. You may see a few more screen passes, but
Right.
if you got good running backs and receivers that can run a little bit, that could work for them. That'll be exciting to watch.
You got the Eagles lost another coach. Was a linebacker coach.
They lost both their OCs, and now they lost their linebacker coach, who's going to be a DC
They took
somewhere. They
another
lost their
hit. Yeah.
OC, their DC, and now their linebackers coach. Um, and they've got a few players that their contracts were up. Some of them were second team, but you do have it's Bradbury who covered Schuster on that play. He's his contract's up. There's a couple of guys on defense that they might want to look at. Fletcher Cox's contract is up. I think Brandon Graham's contract is up. And there's some pretty significant guys right there on defense. So they may have to rework some things and figure out some things. But if Roseman's allowed to, and everybody keeps his hands off, I got to admit that he's usually pretty good at filling those holes. So, and let's face it, last 2 years, the Eagles overachieved from what everybody thought. Of course, now the microscope's going to be on them after this season. So, and they'll have a tougher schedule. They did have a fairly easy schedule last year. So. But you still got to play Dallas twice. You still got to play the Giants twice. You're going to have to play the Commanders. That's such a stupid freaking name. I
You got to
hate
get
that.
the Giants. Danny Dimes is looking for like
Danny Dimes is looking for
35, 40
Aaron
million.
Rodgers, Deshaun Watson money.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen.
happened.
And they said he switched agents, and his new agents are trying for that. Bad
Yeah.
proof. I don't know where he got these agents from, but at least don't get Aesop fairy tale agents. Get get some real ones next time. But that's way too much. I don't even know if he's worth 30 yet. But I guess comparatively
Well,
speaking, in the market, maybe 27 to 30, but not 40 to 45. No,
no.
no, he's not worth that. And then you got to remember too, if they give him that, they'll never be able to keep Barkley under that salary cap. So, it's do you want to win or I mean, as much as I wasn't a Tom Brady fan, all those years in New England and even in Tampa Bay, he didn't try to break the bank because he said, I'll take this much just as long as you're using that money for other players.
Right.
And let's face it, how many years were New England able to keep guys and sign guys that maybe they wouldn't have been able to if Tom Terrific went for the money that he should have got?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, John, like I said, if you don't have an offensive line protecting you, you're not going to be good.
You
And,
could
and
have
and and these guys don't get paid off
no. You could
very
have
good
Peyton
money.
in his prime, Brady in his prime, Johnny Unitas in his prime, uh, Joe Namath in his prime. If you can't protect them, and that's what happened to Joe Namath down the line. I mean, his knees were shot because after the Super Bowl, even kind of during it, but definitely the years afterwards, he
Mhm.
had no knees. He was getting hit so often with the Jets that it was just, Johnny Unitas toward the end of his career. The Colts didn't have a line. He was getting beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Joe Montana and Kansas City the last year or two. He was basically on the run
Right.
constantly, and he wasn't a running quarterback. So same in San Francisco didn't have that line. They let him go for Steve Young because Steve Young could run around and get out of trouble on his own. But you're right. If you don't have a good offensive line in today's
Yeah.
game and a
So the
quick
quarterback shouldn't really get. Yeah, the quarterback shouldn't be getting that kind of
no,
money. I mean,
no. I mean, you got to cut that ball loose quick now. So it's not
mhm.
like the line's got to hold a guy for 3.5 to 4 seconds. In the passing game, hold him for 3 seconds, 2.5 to 3 seconds. Let my guy get the ball off. If he can't get it off by then something else happened. You know, he's got to throw it away or something. So, and the last two things. Well, we talked about, I guess, Carr. Well, we didn't talk about Lamar. Going to be tricky because of the franchise tag situation. They could put it on him. And then it's going to be, does he sign it? If he doesn't sign it, he won't play. Is he betting on himself to sit out? I think it's the first 8 weeks he could sit out. Then he'd have to decide about getting paid or whatever. I don't know how it works, but I know it used to be the first 8 weeks he could sit out. If you sit out the whole season, I think you still stay the property of the team.
And you're going to get franchised no matter what.
Basically, the team would lose out and he would lose out because he's not going to get paid if he doesn't play under the franchise tag.
Right.
So, but these guys make so much money. Sometimes they just say, you know what? I'll just live off what I got. I'm good for a year. And then same thing happens again.
I could be a lifetime
Yeah.
for their money.
Yeah. Some guy, right. Ravens go, well, if you don't play for us, you don't play for anybody. Okay. And you never know. There might be a point. Here's the thing. Lamar's coming off a serious knee injury.
Yep.
And he's a mobile quarterback. If I'm the Ravens, I sign him to the franchise tag. Show me that you can play well still at your old level for a season. If you can, then we'll sign you. Well, you know, you got to keep him then. Then you realize this guy is the deal. If not, you know, then all right, we got to move on. So, and I think Lamar almost has to do that at some point. But he's his own agent. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to, like you said, they can franchise them, but I just think I think Baltimore's just better off trading them because, like you said, you're not going to, you don't know where you're going to get back since he's been hurt. I mean, and in the last couple of years, he's been nicked up. So, I mean,
Yeah. And he said last couple of days, he wants Deshaun Watson money. He wants a little bit more than Deshaun Watson. Now, right now, Deshaun Watson's not earning his money, but Cleveland's got to help him. That's part of that problem. And he hadn't played in season and a half. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But whatever Deshaun Watson's getting, he's not worth it. But if you're Lamar, hey, this guy's getting that. I should at least get a couple bucks more than that. Right. So you can see it, but I'm of the opinion, how much do you need for crying out loud? Holy shit.
I mean, don't you want a good team? I mean,
exactly.
It can't be all about you.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. I mean, if you get $45 million, the rest of your team's still going to keep sucking like it has.
Yeah.
You can't sign anybody on defense. You're limited to what you can sign on offense. It's just not going to be good. So you're right about that. And then the other part is Derek Carr, who's got to wait on Aaron Groundhog Day Rodgers. He does the same shit every season, like we talked about. Because the Jets supposedly told Carr, if you win a championship with us, you'll go to the Hall of Fame. They supposedly like him, but they won't sign him yet. And now, according to his brother David, the free agency process decision by Derek is going to be a long, protracted process. And I'm sure it's because he's already went to New Orleans and he's already went to the Jets to interview, work out, whatever, meet, whatever. I think the Jets are making a mistake hanging around waiting for Rodgers.
Right.
Even if they get him,
no
I think they're making a mistake. But Rodgers needs the weapons. Now the Jets have him, but it's going to be a whole different playbook. Everybody's going to make the excuses, but it is with his old offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Hackett. So
Right.
the Jets are waiting. That's fine, I guess, but
Yeah, but getting back to that, I see Salah as a
no
nonsense coach.
nonsense guy.
I don't know how well that will work with
I don't know how it's going to play. I think Salah would have to meet with Rodgers and address all these things that Rodgers does.
Rodgers.
And then with Hackett there at this little meeting and say,
Right.
all right, and look, everybody answers to me. And I don't want to hear no sniping. I don't want to hear no coach's decision wasn't the right one crap that Rodgers has done a couple times. Oh, we
Mhm.
should have ran this play. We should have. Shut up. You work for me. And if you don't like that, then we're not going to trade for you. You can stay in Green Bay. And you sign Derek Carr. I personally, for your team, for your image, and even for your fan base in the long run, even though they may not get it right away, I think you sign Derek Carr.
Yeah, because you
That's
can
the
get
other part
5
of
good
the
years
Jets.
out of them. You're not going to get 5 good years out of Rodgers.
No, that's the other part. You'll get 5 or 6 good years out of Carr. Great attitude, a great team leader. I think you get him and you sign him. Now, maybe Carr did say, well, I want to wait a little bit. And maybe he wants to see if somebody else is making him some kind of an offer. So maybe they mutually agreed, yeah, all right, I'll wait a little bit, see what you guys are going to do. If not, then I think the Jets are making a mistake by waiting. I think you sign Carr. He won't need 40 million to make him happy. And he is the kind of guy, I think, that would take a little bit less if it means getting another player or two for your team.
Yeah.
So I say we end the NFL stuff right there, pal.
Sounds good.
We got the XFL that started. It's got a couple interesting rule changes. This kind of thing you don't want to stay glued to the TV like your favorite NFL game. But if you got absolutely nothing else to do and you put it on in the background, there could be some interesting things because there's a couple different rules. I did have a game on last week in the background that was kind of interesting. So the Rock runs the XFL. That'll be pretty good. And unless you have something to add to that, Bill, we'll move on from the XFL.
Yeah, no, I haven't really followed it, to be honest with you.
There's no I know there's no Vince McMahon going, and welcome to the XFL. Well, it's not quite the same,
Yeah.
These hokey commercials I've seen.
And you know what? There's plenty of good athletes out there that
There are. And
it's
there's some
good to have a league like
ex-NFL and
this.
college players that are playing pretty well.
Yeah.
So
Kudos to the Rock
it's
for
interesting.
stepping up and doing something.
NBA, get ready. We're down to the last couple of dozen games for each team. There might be some interest now perking up. I think there's been a lot less interest this year from fans. I think because the NFL season now goes to mid-February with the Super Bowl. That hurts the NBA, I think. So unless you're a diehard anti-football but pure basketball fan, you're probably not really paying attention to the NBA until about now.
Right.
There were some trades, some other things going on. You had All-Star Weekend this year, and everybody is saying that the 76ers' newest member, who was signed literally days before the All-Star break, has not played in a Philadelphia uniform yet, signed a two-way contract, which I'm still not sure how that works. I guess you play for us today, but if we don't need you, we send you down to our it's almost like baseball, our minor league basketball team. Then we bring you back up. But they had this kid, Matt McClung, won the dunk contest, and he won it. I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw any of those dunks.
He was phenomenal.
He was absolutely freaking outstanding. When you got Dominique Wilkins coming over afterwards, after giving you perfect scores and giving you the big hug, the human highlight film, this kid is here to stay. A lot of people are saying that this kid's performance saved the dunk contest because nobody really been interested in it in the last few years.
Right.
but he's been doing it since high school. There's YouTube clips of him
I
dunking
tell
the
you what,
knots.
I have never seen a white guy get so much hair.
Yep.
That guy is
Yeah, and
phenomenal.
he's in NBA standards, he's not that big. He's only like
No,
6'2", 6'3", and he's leaping over two guys, one on the other one's shoulders,
yep.
and leaps over the guy, takes the ball from him. The guy's holding the ball up here above his head, takes the ball from him, and then slams. I'm like, that's freaking phenomenal. Jumps over another guy from the side, then does. They, they eventually figured they'd call it a 540, not even a
They
360.
call
He
it.
did a
I was gonna say,
540, he did another whole half a turn and slammed it home. And it's hard to describe them, but they were phenomenal. And the great part about it to me, and I think Shaquille O'Neal apparently told him before he started, don't miss. Because the last few dunk contests, you've seen guys miss the first one or miss the second one. They get to go back and try it again. I think they get like a minute and a half per dunk. So if you miss one, you can go back and retry it or something. He didn't miss at all. And he's doing the most challenging dunks you ever see. And he didn't miss a one. I'm like, man, this kid is hot.
yep.
Kenny Smith from TNT was doing some of the broadcasting, and at first he's like, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. You know, I saw Vince Carter, I saw this guy, I saw this guy. And by the time his third dunk came in, he's like, Mac McClung, welcome to the NBA, baby. You are, he was like turned him around completely. He even said, don't get me wrong, you might be carrying Joel Embiid and James Harden sneakers on the bus, but it's going to on the plane, but it's a first-class charter plane and you're getting good meals. You deserve it, son. Everybody was like, oh, you might be carrying sneakers and bags, but it's because you're a rookie. It's for no other reason. Yeah. So it'll be
Well, they
interesting
say
to see
they say he got as much money during the for
for the dunk
the
contest than he's
slam
going to
dunk
get
test
all
that
season.
his career or
Yeah,
season. Yeah,
because I think you get $1 million to win the dunk contest.
yeah.
So he got the mill, and he got a contract from Nike.
Nice. Yeah.
He did. They announced that today. Nike signed him to an endorsement deal. So the kid, I'm glad for the kid because he's been struggling. He was last year's G League Rookie of the Year. So he's not a scrub. I mean, he gets
No,
a
he's not
shot.
screwed.
He may not be a starter, but he might be a pretty nice little role player if he gets in the right team and the right system. I'm not saying it would be Philadelphia. You never know. Down the road, they might dump him, but he's got a shot. But like you said, he's already doing okay now financially because of that performance last night. So good for him. I mean, he showed dedication. So to me, that's the biggest NBA news. You got the Lakers made a couple trades, and everybody's saying, LeBron's like, these are the 23 most important games of my career. Yeah. Okay, prove it. Most people think they need to win 16 of them just to make it to the playoffs. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
And Westbrook signed with the Clippers.
Westbrook officially signed with the Clippers, and so he stays in LA, just the other LA team. And that could be big for him. This could be his last chance to show that he can be the player that he was and to get as far as he can. And the Clippers could use him. They didn't really have a true starting point guard after a couple trades. So Westbrook's probably going to start and play. So that's going to be interesting. But Paul George supposedly had his best seasons ever when he was playing with Westbrook. So we'll wait and see. If Kawhi can get or stay healthy enough down the stretch here and into the playoffs, the Clippers could be somebody to pay attention to. I personally think in the end in the West, it's still going to come down to Denver and Phoenix.
Yeah,
I really do. But it's going to be interesting. Atlanta fired Nate McMillan, the head coach.
Right.
Right now their assistant's interim, but they're looking at Quinn Snyder, who used to coach in Utah. That'll be interesting to see if they do that or whether they wait till the end of the season to do that. But the Hawks right now are technically in the playoffs, and they fired McMillan, who got them to the conference finals 2 years ago, I think it was. He got hired mid-season, and turned them around to where they won 60 some odd% of their games. But everybody thinks or is saying that there were problems between him and Trae Young. So we all know how that goes in pro sports.
Yeah,
You pick your player. You pick your player. They're paying him big money. So guess what? We can get a different coach. Yeah. And most coaches will tell you, we know that we get hired to someday be fired.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the business. You can't take it personal, I guess. So but here we go. The only last thing I'll talk about until we get to the baseball part is in the NHL, Boston is tearing it up. Unreal. They have a chance to get the points record and wins record of all time. Brad Marchand was asked the question, are you guys going for that? And he's like, we don't care about that. I'm like, okay. But then I thought about it, and I've listened to a bunch of NHL experts last couple of days.
Right.
No one that has won the points title or had the most points has won the Stanley Cup since 2010.
Really?
It was the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah. And they've been getting eliminated early, like first or second round. So I could kind of see why he would say that. Like, look, our job's, he's kind of saying our job's not done till we win the whole thing.
Right.
And I can see that. So going to be interesting to see how that works out. But I still think if you're Boston, you're still really trying for that. But here's the thing, there's no real incentive for you to finish. I mean, you'd be the number one seed in your division if you had the most.
Right.
Only in the division. You don't get a bye. You don't get anything. The team in the Western conferences would get the same thing you get, and they might have 20 points less than you. So you don't really gain any advantage playoff-wise. And somebody made a point today saying, even if they did matter somewhat, it's kind of watered down because you get a win if you win in overtime and you get 2 points. Where in the old days, like in a shootout, in the old days, you didn't get that. It was a tie and you were only going to get 1 point.
Right.
So some of it's watered down a little bit too, I guess, points-wise. And even wins-wise. Games that would be tied, you might get a win. So, I mean, I can see that. But he said they don't care. And so it's interesting and sit back and watch. But I think you got to make them the favorite for the Cup.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
The way they're playing, I think you got to make them the favorite. All right, buddy. We'll get ready for our takes on some of these new baseball rules. I'll tell you, folks, if you want to see a couple of examples of how they'll affect the game a little bit, I was watching some MLB stuff the last couple of days. I did a lot of research last couple of days. Scary. I know it's scary, buddy. First off, Alex Cora said it best, and then everybody else has been tagging along. The new bases, which are 3 inches larger in circumference, going from 15 to 18 inches. And it's all 3 of the bases. And I don't know if their size is big. I guess they can't make home plate bigger because it would affect the strike zone. But 18 inches. And they put the old one against the new one, and Alex Cora said it best, the new one looks like a pizza box. Well, then somebody took a pizza box and said, yep, it is exactly the same size. It's like a large pizza box. That is going to affect the game so much because they said from going from first to second and second to third, you're gaining 4 inches as a base runner. I don't know if I like it, Bill. I know what they're aiming for. They're aiming for more offense, more people to steal bases, which wouldn't surprise me if that happened.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. I think a lot of it is, well, at least first base is safety. And if you were looking at safety, then you should just put the double bag on it.
That's I think you and I talked about that a few weeks ago. You're right. I think just have the double bag. The runner can't run and make contact with that inside bag. If he does, then he's out. As far as I'm concerned, then it's obstruction or interference, whichever way you want to call it. He's got to run to that normal older bag that's on the line.
Mhm.
And if he runs inside, makes contact with and the first baseman can't go, he can't go further inside than that safety bag. I think that's the way it should be. Then you
Now
leave the other
the only
bases the
thing,
same
yeah.
way.
Now the only thing with the safety bag, that the only drawback for that is, say it's the ball's in a gap and you're going for a double, trying to round. I mean,
Yeah, trying to round the bag, I guess, could be a little tricky. But
so
I mean, I think you can work on that and figure out how to do that.
yeah, I mean, as long as there's not a play at first, then
Right.
you could touch the,
Then you could
yeah,
touch and you could still touch usually you go to try to touch the top corner or the inside corner. Well, in this case, you won't touch the inside corner. You just got to learn to run the top corner.
right.
So I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I guess I got to wait and see how that one works out. But the big talking is stealing bases.
Right.
Um, the other part of that, let's see if they have anything else. I have the MLB explanations on here. The bigger bags, home plate is unchanged
Yeah.
area.
Well, the thing is with also the stolen bases, because if the pickoffs, you're only allowed two pickoffs.
That's where we're going to end up with because that's the pitching rules. That's part of that. Yeah, it's a 4.5 inch reduction of distance between first and second. So 4.5 inches. Uh, it's going to supposedly encourage more stolen base attempts. I think you're right. That might be moderate. You might have some guys who are pretty quick that'll do a lot more, but then you're going to have other guys that it's no big deal to me. I mean, I can't see Reese Hoskins trying to steal more bases. Please don't. It's if you're a Phillies fan, please don't.
But the thing is that I think this could be a downfall for catchers because now you're throwing the
Yes.
ball, the second base a lot more, so you
Yeah.
got more of a heart problem
Yeah.
possibly. I mean,
Yeah. A lot of things could take place there. You might see pitch outs come back into play. I mean, they've almost stopped over the years. Wouldn't surprise me if stolen bases do go up. You see more pitch outs again. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, then you have the pitch timer. The pitching rules are quite a bit different. You've got the pitch timer, which if there's no runners on, the pitcher has to start his windup within 15 seconds. If there's runners on, it's 20 seconds. And that, of course, means there's also a limit on throws to first base. You're allowed 2 per runner. If you throw over a third time and he's not out. Now, if you throw over a third time and you get him, you get him.
Right.
That was explained in detail the other day. But if you throw over a third time and you don't get him, it's a balk. It's not a ball. I thought originally it was a ball. It's not. It's a balk. So the runner will go to second. So if you ain't sure as a pitcher, you better not throw over after the second time. What's that going to do? Well, you might try and draw 2 throws, and you're going to see pitchers hesitate to go to first on that third try. And you might see runners take off on that third try.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that part's going to be interesting. But he has to begin his motion to deliver the pitch before the expiration of that clock. If they violate the clock, it's an automatic ball. Batters who violate the timer, because batters will try and step out. If they do it, of course, they get a strike. They have to be in the box, and the quote is alert to the pitcher by the 8-second mark, or it's an automatic strike. So no more Garcia Parra with the John Harris stepping out, tapping on the cleats a couple times, getting back in. I admit I used to do that. Do this Richie Hebner thing. I don't know where it ever came from, but I remember for years I would tug on my shoulder just to, Richie Hebner always did that. And I guess I picked it up when I was a kid and did it. Stepped out, tapped my cleats. That was on me. And then got
Yeah,
back
you used to
in,
do it. You used to
tugged
do it
on
in
the
softball. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that
I remember.
was slow pitch softball, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying you can't do those kinds of things anymore. Or if you do them quick. Boom, get back in the box. You got 8 seconds.
But who's watching the pitch clock? See, if you're an
Well, there's a pitch
umpire,
clock on the field. So I'm sure one of the umpires must be. Now I've seen they showed a couple videos of umpires that called it in AAA last year.
Right.
And when the clock got to a certain point, zoom, and he goes like this. He goes, "It's a ball." Oh, it was like this on the right hand. Like he tapped it like, "Here's my watch. You violated it, it's a ball." So
Because
there
as a
must be a
home,
clock in the line of vision, or the umpire might be wearing something.
yeah, because a home plate umpire has to worry about watching for a balk and stuff like
It's
that. They
just
can't
so
be
much
looking at
stuff.
they can't be looking at the plate
Wow.
the
I mean,
pitch clock when
you
you're
add that
looking for
all
a
to the
strike.
home plate umpire, man. I hope you're paying them a lot more now because, man, that's a lot of stuff to keep track of.
Yep.
I'm thinking my thought would be the third base umpire should pick up a little of that slack because that's the guy that's probably doing the least. I mean, the first base
Right.
umpire is going to have a bunch of calls at first base. The second
Right.
base umpire now, especially, is going to have more to do with possible steals. Plus, the second base umpire is usually the one that goes into the outfield to see
Yeah.
if a ball's been caught or whatever.
Hmm.
So the third base umpire plays at third base and fair and foul calls.
Yeah.
I think you make the third base umpire have a little more responsibility and pick up one or two of those. But I don't know how you're right. I don't know how it's working. I know the clock is somewhere that can be seen on the field. So it's going to be interesting how they do that. I guess might have to tune into a spring training game or two in the next couple of weeks just to see how they do it. But they said once after the first couple of weeks, pitchers got used to it. I saw an interview with Max Scherzer, who said he kind of likes the idea. He said a lot of people think pitchers don't like the idea. He goes, "I like the idea because you know what? The batter doesn't have time to play around and goof around. He's got to get in there. I get myself ready to go. I'm ready." But there are some guys who don't have that frame of mind. Of course, they're going to have to step it up. The Phillies picking up Dejan Walker, he played with it and he liked it. He said, "As a pitcher, I liked it." So it's going to be interesting. Some of these pitchers may actually be better. So I think it's going to be mixed, but they're looking for more offense, make the game more exciting. They said on average, because of the pitching rule, that pitching clock rule, games were 26 minutes shorter. To
Wow.
me, that's a big, big
That's a
change.
big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it might, they're looking to keep fans interested. A fan could walk, you could watch a pitch and then you go, it's going to be a couple minutes before they throw the next one. You go, now that's not the
Yeah.
case.
I tell
So
you what, I only seen about like a handful of games last year. I
yeah,
lost interest.
I was going to say, I'm a big baseball fan. I mean, but we've always both said it was always better to play it than to watch it. And a lot of people are like that. This might change that. This might make it a little more interesting to watch. So we'll sit back and see. Disengagements. All right, we've covered that. Mound visits, injury timeouts, nothing. They don't count as quote unquote those disengagements. What they're talking about disengagements is disengagement from the rubber, from the process. So there's no penalty for that really if somebody's coming in or they're having a conference. If the teams have used up 5 allotted mound visits prior to the ninth inning, they will get another one in the ninth inning. So you can have 5 during the first 8 innings. If you use them all before that 8th inning, you don't get a 6th. Otherwise, I think then it would come into that ball thing. The next one's a ball.
Right.
Umpires can provide extra time if warranted by special circumstances. If a catcher were to be thrown out on the bases to end the previous half inning, they can say, okay, you got a little extra time because he's got to gear up and stuff. So that goes into the delay of game stuff. Then you got the shifts. You got 4 players minimum on the infield. So you can't take that second baseman or take a third baseman, put them into right center anymore.
Right.
Got to be 2 guys on the left, 2 guys on the right, minimum. So they're looking at obviously ending that shift. And it hurt a lot of players, especially left-hand hitters, when you could put everybody from second base toward
Pretty
first.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. The infielders must be within the outer boundaries of the infield when the pitcher's on the rubber. So they can't be playing back in the outfield when the pitcher's on the rubber. They can't switch sides. In other words, third baseman can't go over to second base unless he's moving there as the position because the second baseman's coming out of the game or something. But as far as during play, he can't do that. If they're not aligned properly at the time of the pitch, the offense can choose an automatic ball or the result of the play. So we'll say Schwarber hits a line drive to left for a single because they moved their guys. Well, if they want to keep the single because it's an RBI or something, you keep it. But if not, if he grounds out to second because they weren't lined up right, then they can say, well, that ground ball doesn't count and it's a ball. So it would be up to the offensive team to make their choice.
Right.
And the only thing it does do, and this brings you back to our old softball days, Bill, it does not preclude a team from taking an outfielder and bringing them into the infield. That rule can still be in play. Of course, you pick your poison there. You bring in your outfield, you're down to 2 outfielders. So good luck with that. You better really be sure that shift you're putting on that guy. You could do it for a left-hand pull hitter, bring the left fielder in, but put him behind second base, and you have a center fielder and a right fielder.
Right.
You could take that chance, but boy, that's a hell of a chance. Yeah. I mean, because if the guy hits just a flare to left field, it's going to go to the wall, and he's got at least 2, maybe 3, depending on the runner.
Yeah.
So that could be a big thing. I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing that bothers me, they don't mention it in the rules, because I guess technically it's not a rule, but is the new schedule. Everybody gets to play everybody starting this season. And it's starting this season. It's not a one-season experiment. Apparently, it's a permanent thing. You'll play, for instance, the Phillies will go to Boston. Now, they've been playing division stuff already. The Phillies will go to Boston, we'll say, this year. I don't know which way they're going, but I'll just use an example. Phillies will play in Boston this year. Next year, Boston would come to Philly. But you will play everybody during the season. Every team. American League, National League, doesn't matter. This is going to make me sound like the old guy that said, get off my friggin' lawn, you little bastard. Take your bicycle. Don't walk your dog on my lawn, you bastards, because you don't pick up his crap. All right. I'm going to sound like that old man for a minute, because there now is absolutely no difference between the 2 leagues. None. You play
I agree.
What's the big deal with the World Series now? Because that's a team you've played.
I agree. But I look at it this way. If you're making all these rule changes and whatnot, every other sport plays everybody. So, I mean,
yeah,
NBA
but
plays everybody.
But not every season. For instance, Philly didn't play Kansas City this season. You only play a division. Like this year, they might play the Western Division. Next year, they might play the North.
Right.
Next one.
But I'm saying though, all the other teams
playing everybody.
Yeah, but see, hockey and NHL, you play everybody.
Hockey does it, I know.
NBA, you play everybody.
But not as many. And you're still going to
play. Not as many. You're absolutely right.
You're still going to play more division games the way it's set up than you would the others. But
I'm probably for it. I know you're a traditionalist, but if they're changing everything else,
I will admit.
But
I am more.
But the thing is, if they're changing the shit anyway, but I mean,
well,
I'm okay.
You're right, because here's my problem: the last maybe decade of things that have changed. They keep souring me on baseball, at least Major League Baseball. Not playing the game, it just drives me nuts. First off, DH in both leagues. I knew now the beginning of the end is coming. I think I told you, they said, well, we're going to experiment with it. And they always say that. We're going to try it for a season. Bam, it's permanent. It worked great. We don't know if it worked great. Even if the averages were better and there was quote unquote more interest, which nobody's ever able to prove. It worked great. Now, bang, it's permanent and it's universal. Okay. I'm mixed on that because I gotta admit, as a Phillies fan, Bryce Harper got hurt, couldn't play defense. If there was no DH in the National League last year, he wouldn't have been able to play.
Mhm.
So you're mixed on it as a fan, but overall, when I look at the overall picture, I still don't like it. I just don't. But that's me. I hate, which has nothing to do with the league separation. I
Mhm.
hate that freaking extra inning rule. I hate it. It's awful
I
because
don't. Yeah, I
and
definitely hate it.
now we're going to experiment it for a year because they used COVID as the excuse to bring it in. They did. If you go
Right.
back and look, it was the COVID year, and they used it as an excuse to get the games over with sooner, blah, blah, blah. It was used as an excuse. We're going to keep it another year to keep an eye on it and see if it works. And then we'll discuss it. No, it's permanent now. It's runners at second base after the ninth inning until the playoffs. Well, here's my problem. In the playoffs, if you take it away, it's not the same game that you had all season
Yeah,
long.
yeah. Do you just played? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same game that got you to the playoffs. So to me, that's bullshit. Well, there goes the YouTube thing. It's bullshit. Because it's not, and it's not really. It could really be unfair to a team. Um, you put a runner at second, nobody out. Um, and for example, for Philly, you get who's coming up? Oh crap! It's Schwarber.
Yeah, you got the top of the lineup.
It's
Yeah.
Harper, it's Realmuto, or Realmuto's running and it's Harper, Schwarber, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's Trey Turner's at second. He could score probably on a ground ball to first, I mean, it's not fair because then the other team, even if they're the home team, they might have the 7, 8, 9 guys hitting,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, The fairness of now extra innings, different deal, because you expect that, and that nobody's on base. Every team starting out the same,
Yeah.
and every team starting out the same with his runner at second. But the percentages of the guys and being able to, it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Um,
If you do it, I think you got to give them like maybe the starting in the 13th inning.
yeah,
Just
or even the
give
11th
them
thing,
give them
maybe.
a couple.
You're
Yeah.
right. I think the more I think about it, 12th or 13th inning, one time through the lineup, which at most takes 3 innings.
Right.
So
Right.
you're talking 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah. So the 13th inning is okay. Now we can do it.
Right.
It's kind of similar. That would be similar to how hockey does it. We've got the overtime period. Then if nobody scores, we go to the shootout. And that's
Right.
kind of the same premise. I think at that point, yeah, okay. Because I went to one game, I think I told you it was the 22 inning veteran stadium game. I've told people this for years. Me and a buddy went up. I was working as a police officer. I was in Newfield, he was in Buena, and we're talking to each other once in a while, listening to the game. And it got to be like the 7th inning or something, or 8th inning. It was a drizzly night, so there were a couple rain delays. So we were like, we were working 3 to 11. We said, let's take a ride. Let's go to Philly, see if we get there in time. And not only, of course, we also didn't drive slowly, but we got up there pretty quick. And that game went till 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
When Mitch Williams, the 069 pinch hitter of all things, drops a single into left field. And I can't even remember who scored the run, but they win. And we were like,
Mhm.
you got to be kidding me. It's 4:30 in the morning. It's a drizzle. It's constant.
Yep.
I think they still said it's probably the latest game ever played in Major League
I
Baseball.
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got up there in time to watch. It was like 22 innings. We got up there before the 9th inning started. So we got
Hmm.
to see more than a game of free baseball because you don't get charged if you come to the stadium. I think it's after the 5th inning.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Major League, I think, has that rule. At least they used to. They may have stopped it now. If you don't have a
Right.
ticket, maybe. I don't know. But back then, we're ready. You go to buy a ticket. Well, the ticket windows are closed. And that time of night, nobody's coming in. But there was a guy there, and we were like, we got to pay anything? He goes, no, it's after the 5th inning. And then I looked it
Huh.
up, and it was a rule. After the 5th inning was completed, teams don't charge. Like,
Huh,
okay. So we were there from the 9th inning till the 22nd inning of the end of the game. We're like, "Sweet."
nice.
And of course, we took a couple of beverages of our own because they're not selling nothing. The only thing they
Right, right.
did was after the 13th or 14th inning, I think they opened it up. You could get coffee or hot chocolate because it was a rainy, chilly kind of a night. Um, and I think hot dogs if you had to eat something or something. They had a couple of the stands open for no vendors or anything. You had to go get it, but it
Hmm.
was, so it was a fun experience that you will never see again, I don't think. Because extra innings will never go 22 innings with this
No.
rule. Is it a good thing? Mixed on that part, 22 innings, but I think you're right. I like your idea. I had said the 11th or 12th, but I like your idea because to start in the 13th, that's at least the time for one time through the batting order, even if everybody makes an out.
Right.
Everybody's had 9 guys to bat to make the difference.
Mhm.
Then
Yep.
bang, 13th inning on, you got this runner thing. I guess I'm okay with that. Um, but otherwise, I don't like the way it's set up right now.
Mhm.
So, but then again, I'll still watch a bunch of baseball games this year now just to see the rules, see how it goes,
Ah,
especially with all the changes. You've got Xander Bogaerts, who left my Red Sox to go to San Diego, who's trying to buy up everything. Tatis should be back, trying to blame a medicine to get rid of ringworm for his PED thing. Nobody's buying that, but supposedly he's coming back now. Then you still had Machado, who's playing out his option, but he's playing this season, and then he'll be a free agent, at least for now. He's already said it. He's a jackass, that guy.
yeah,
Yeah, he's an idiot. Um, I know he was on your team, but he left your team because he's an idiot.
yeah, yeah.
He wanted to get out of Baltimore because he's a jackass. I want money, but they all want money. But
They all want money.
his,
Yeah, I know.
his sportsmanship on the field is ridiculous. He's just an ass. Um, they, but I will say, I think San Diego might win the West. But we'll get into that, I guess, next week. We'll make our picks. But they've signed enough people. They kept you, Darvish. I think they might be the team to beat in the West. Um, so you had those. DeGrom is hurt already in Texas. He was going to try and throw off the mound today, but supposedly he had a left oblique pain in his first effort. That's going to be fun. New York fans
Oh,
are going to eat that up if he gets hurt and doesn't. I mean, they're just going to, because was always hurt in New York. He'd have half a good season, or he'd have 5 or 6 games. He'd be hurt. He'd miss 4 or 5 games. Then he'd come back. Great pitcher when he pitches, but he
mhm.
got the big contract, and Texas is famous for making mistakes. They signed a lot of guys though, and mostly
Yeah,
pitchers. So Texas could be tough in the West of the American League. And the Mets made up for it, signing Justin Verlander for 2 years. He's still
yeah.
pitching
That's
well,
that's a nice.
you know. Uh, and let's face it, I think he's got the hottest wife in the majors. When you could marry Kate Upton, shit.
Yeah,
It's- he-
yeah. I think the Phillies should have signed him. That'd have been nice.
that would have, if they got him, could you imagine? Wheeler, um, Wheeler, Nola, uh, Verlander, Walker's going to be a pretty good number 4 because right now, who's their fifth? They could have, but then you had Suarez. That would be a hell of a 5-man rotation, especially those first 3. Man, as of right now, I think the number 5 spot for Philly might be the question again.
Right.
You got a couple of young guys that are going to try it, and they're going to give Bailey Falter a try. Who he's usually good for about 5 innings, 6 innings max.
And their Achilles heel, they got bullpen strengthened up a little bit.
Yeah, Kimbrel, that's a good signing. Who's already said he doesn't need to close; he'll pitch anywhere. Their bullpen got a lot better when Alvarado fixed his splitter. Yeah, his splitter. Because his fastball was always good, but you could tee off on it because he couldn't throw the
Yeah.
splitter with regularity. Now
And they
he,
picked up the guy from Detroit. I think Detroit was it?
yeah, who the hell was it? He's supposedly really good too. Um, Lefty, I think, right? Isn't he a
Yeah.
lefty?
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then You had yeah, so the rest of their, the signing of Trey Turner is going to be big. Um, they're looking at putting Sosa in center field once in a while, I guess, to platoon with what's the kid's name with the beard?
Oh,
You know who I'm talking about.
yeah,
He's a lefty,
a real
lefty hitter.
scraggly hair.
Yeah, he'll play against righties, so he'll probably get most of the time, and he's really good defensively. It's going to be interesting what they do without Harper, who is going to be. They said he's swinging a bat at home, and is going to be in spring training the first week in March. Now, how much he'll be doing in spring training, who knows? But they said he is he's way ahead of schedule. So he's getting there. If he gets back in the lineup sooner than they thought, that's huge. That's going to be
Right.
huge for them. So he's there. You had a bunch of signings in the major league. The Carlos Correa saga went from 315, 320 million with the Mets to 320 with the Giants, I think, 310 possibly with the Mets, down to 200 with Minnesota. He's got something in his ankle that if it scared the Mets off, who wanted to sign him so
Right.
badly, and whatever it is, cost him 100 mil and maybe
Yeah.
a couple of years, because now I guess he's in Minnesota for I think 4 years, 200 million. Still a
Yeah. That's,
chunk of change, but I think he was going to get 6 or 7 years and 320 mil. So whatever's in that ankle, and they say it's an old injury that's been there, but now everybody's like, well, he's a little older, and they think long term it could take years off his career. So
right.
we'll see. But he's in Minnesota. Justin Turner signed in Boston. Good signing, but not good enough to replace Xander Bogaerts. That's who went to San Diego. So yeah, you
Right.
got Bogaerts, Machado, Tatis.
Mm.
Somebody shoot me in the friggin' head. That's part of why I think they're big time in the West. The Cubs signed a couple guys, which surprised me. Dansby Swanson and Bellinger. I didn't think they were going to go for free agents, but they did.
Right.
So all your shortstops went somewhere. Boston signed Jansen, Duval, Kluber, but nobody. Kluber's on the downside. Jansen gets what was the guy used to pitch for the Phillies? He's in Seattle now, or Houston. Used to be the closer just last year. I can't remember. I hated it every time he
Not
came in the
familiar
game.
with names. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this guy's going to give up the long ball. And he did almost every time. And I was like, ah. And then when I heard he wasn't, I was like, sweet, gone. Jansen's got his disease. Every so often, he just blows 3 or 4 saves in a row. Abreu went to the Chicago White Sox. Greinke and Aroldis Chapman. That one's a surprise. Greinke re-signed in Kansas City. Aroldis Chapman probably trying to resurrect or hang on to his career in Kansas City. The Red Sox lose JD Martinez to the Dodgers. Segura and Johnny Cueto signed in Miami. Carlos Rondon went to the Yankees. That's big. I think he's under the radar as far as news is concerned, but that's a big move for the Yankees. And they re-signed Judge and Rizzo. Everybody thought Judge might go to San Francisco, but he was like, nah, I'll stay here. He played him and he got some money. Good for him. Walker with the Phillies, Trey Turner, Craig Kimbrell. Josh Harrison, I think, is an underrated signing for the Phillies. I really do. I think he's going to great utility player and a great guy to have if somebody gets hurt. He's played the outfield before. You never know. He could end up in one of the outfield spots, not center, I don't see, but once in a while he could end up in left, and you put Schwarber or somebody else at DH or give him a break or something. I think he's going to be a big signing, and of course, I think it's a bigger loss than everybody thinks. But Eflin went to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay signed him, and there's a few other ones that, like you were talking about, a couple that are there. They're based. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys kind of do with their new teams.
Right.
to me, that years ago, that was the beginning of the end of baseball as you know it, because you used to be able to pick a guy, follow him because he stayed on your favorite team forever.
Mhm.
But we don't have that very often
They
anymore.
don't have that. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
never going to happen. And it's a two-way street. The teams are like, well, he doesn't have as much left. We're not going to sign him. Somebody else takes a flyer on him, gives him a shot. Or the player's like, hey, I'm not going to get as much money as I should. I'm going to go over here, you know. So it's a two-way street. It's both sides, but it's a bit depressing in that respect. So I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to baseball season, but I always wonder, is it going to be the same as when we were kids? I don't quite think so, buddy. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it'll
don't
ever
know.
get back to that. And kids don't seem to be as interested in baseball. Now, some of the stuff they think might help. Games will be shorter, uh, be more exciting, they think. We'll see.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it can only help, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
but I don't. No, I think these kids have their minds made up with their video games,
their
and I
video
mean that
games.
you don't even see them outside playing baseball or
I was just going to
basketball.
say that kids don't even go outside
So,
to play sports anymore.
so
They just play their
I
butt.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. So, and it's a shame. Part of that's, but that gets into a whole social issue. Part of that's parents. There are some parents like you and Janine were dedicated and took your kids to play soccer and little league, street hockey. Um, I mean, there are still quite a few parents out there to do that, but there's a lot of other ones who either aren't home because they're working or whatever, and the kids in the room playing video games.
Yeah.
And you've dealt with that too. So it's a two-way street. You can only make them do so much. And you
Right.
don't want to make a kid do anything. If
No, because
they like soccer, they like hockey.
it's gonna make them miserable. It's gonna make your life
Right.
miserable. It's gonna make the
Yeah.
coach's life
You're,
miserable. I mean,
yep.
just
You're getting
everybody.
everybody up and all worked up for what? For nothing really. So um I don't
My
know.
thing is, my thing is, with youth sports. All the coaching I did, and I think I was fair
Mhm.
at coaching, but none of these kids are going to be professional athletes. I mean, a
No,
very slim part. I
no.
mean, come on.
I
So, I
had
mean,
I was fortunate. Two girls that I coached got college scholarships based on coaching, based or not coaching, based on their softball abilities. Um, and I always kind of have that. They were the 13 to 16-year-old girls. I think it was Gay Ann Spivey was one, and Yvonne Hampton was another. Hampton was great. The only problem for Hampton, I felt bad in a way later on years ago when I thought about it, is they don't have well, I guess they've started a professional league, but it's just now maybe in its infancy or whatever. She would have been tremendous. She was a very quiet, very talented, could hit, could run, played shortstop, and was a team leader in a quiet way. Everybody
mhm,
just wanted to do and play by her example. And Gan Spivey could pitch, play the outfield, play first. She probably could have played anywhere. She was really good as well. And I had a catcher that was pretty good too.
mhm.
But I can't remember her name. I could see her, but I can't remember her name. She was more of an all-star. She was one of the only two people that I took from a different team. The rest of my team played so great as a team. But those two girls got college scholarships. Um, that's the best I could ever say of any. And I coached, I coached quite a bit too before I got to a certain age and went, like you said, screw this. It's too much of a problem. If you got to beg
Yeah,
people to come out, I'm not doing that.
yeah. And the thing is, like you said, I mean, winning's nice, but it's not everything. And
Right.
it's recreational or
Yes.
even travel stuff. If a kid's out there practicing, they need to play.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean,
I admit that there's always issues with quote unquote little league. But one of the things I did like about Little League is you had to play everybody. Now, as a coach, is that a pain in the ass? Yes. I got to figure out when do I put in this guy and when do I take this one out. how do I hurt this kid's feelings when I do that? I got to figure out how to do it. But the overall idea to me was great. Every kid that comes out and gets on a team, I shouldn't say make a team because you never throw a kid off. Gets on a team, signs up for a team, has to play in every game, even if it's one at bat and one inning in the field by rule. He's got to at least play. She's got to at least play. And to me, that's the way it should be. Kid should never sit the bench a whole game. Because like you said, it's recreation. It's supposed to be fun. How much fun is it for a kid to sit the bench? You know, parents get them ready. They come to practice. You know, they're doing all these other things that I never wanted to do. See, you were a nicer guy than me because I don't know if you did this or not. When I coached the girls, especially, I think I coached them for like 4 years. The rule was I don't set up any fundraising stuff. I'll help a little bit with it by trying to sell tickets or whatever, but I don't set none of that up, any of the off the field stuff. I don't send up when picture day is. Just tell me and I'll be there for it if you want me there. I don't do this. I don't do that. I only do practices and on the field. I only do the softball, baseball related stuff. If you want me to do that, I'll do that. Anything else you got to let me know and I'll be there for it if I have to be. But I only want the baseball and softball related stuff. And that was the rule because I was kind of, well, I was married when I did it at first. So it was like the wife was even begging me because it was the neighborhood girls. I'm like, I don't want it. No, no. And finally, you know how wives are. At some point, you kind of give up. So I'm thinking, what's my compromise here? And my only compromise was, look, all right, I'll come out and I'll take a look and see what you girls have. Because the woman that was put her name on to be the manager was one of the girls' moms. It was just so they could get together and play. And
Yeah.
she said, I know nothing about the game. Nothing. It's like, oh crap. Right. But in a way, that was the best thing for me because she handled everything else. She on paper was the manager. I'm okay with that. That was perfect. She handled all the administrative stuff with Little League. She handled all the bake sales and ticket sales and getting the uniforms and picture day and all that other off the field stuff. All I had to handle was games, practices, coaching, obviously, and coaching the girls up and stuff. And basically I had to start from scratch, like baking a cake. I had to go out, get the flour, get the eggs, get the milk, get whatever. But it worked because I was left alone. And the girls were great. They wanted to play. And that's all you want. Like you said, though, if they want to play, you want them to play. Every girl played in every game. And that's, and we had great winning records, a couple championship flags to hang up. It was great. It was fun. Fun for me, but more fun for them. And that's what mattered.
Yeah. Yep.
And you've been there. You've coached some winning teams too. And it's very gratifying to see the kids have a good time and win.
Right.
You feel good. You feel like you contributed to something for them. So it's good. But the pros, good night, Irene, man.
Yeah.
Cutthroat. So, all right, buddy. We went on longer than we probably could have. Maybe I'm setting a clock for us. Ding! End of time. So unless you have something, buddy, I know MLS is getting ready to crank up.
Union play home opener Saturday against Columbus Crew.
Okay.
So go Union.
There you go.
The only thing I'm disappointed with MLS now is Apple TV took them over. So all their games are on Apple TV. I have
Apple TV, but you're right. Others. Will there be games on ESPN Plus?
I don't think so. I think it's all Apple.
Oh, is it all exclusive Apple? Really?
Yes.
Yes. I have Apple TV and it's fine, but I know a lot of people don't. Right. Most of the people don't, and that's that's a shame.
I think they have. I think it's $99 for the season. I think.
Oh, you got to pay for the season.
Yeah. Well, you have to because it's like they play like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, they play a while, don't they? Yeah.
So
Ugh.
it's worth doing but it's just BS, you know.
Yeah, it's like you got to pay for everything. Like I pay for MLB. Now for me,
Yeah,
it's not so bad because I get to watch Red Sox games and Philly games. Bad
right,
part is I can't watch a Kansas City game unless it happens to be on
right,
network TV, and Kansas City's not good enough to get a lot of network games. Um,
right.
Now I could get every one if I wanted to get cable, but cable's so expensive, it
Hmm.
doesn't pay off. It's
Yeah, it's
you know,
ridiculous.
I mean that would be one of the main reasons to get it, and it's not worth it. So,
Right.
um, but I kind of keep tabs on the Royals, but at least I can get Phillies and Red Sox games and other MLB things that interest me. If you get a
You can
blur,
always get a you can always get a VPN, and they don't know you're in Kansas, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can always. I
There's
did.
ways around.
There's ways around certain things. Yes, there are. But we don't know about them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Say no more. Uh, but yeah, it's one of those things where you got to make choices. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
Yeah.
I feel bad for soccer fans because
Mhm.
MLS fans because I
And it's just sort of getting big, and now I mean you don't
uh,
want
and
something
I
to be
think
as
they're going
good.
to lose audience if it's exclusively Apple TV.
Yeah.
How many people can afford
Yeah.
$99?
I mean, I'm probably 90% sure it's just Apple, all Apple TV.
Oh man. Um, I mean, I can probably look it up real fast, but it's it's a shame, really, because, like you said, it's just starting to get. I mean, there was some pretty good traction on that championship game last year. I watched
Oh
that,
yeah,
and I
that
was,
was nice.
and toward the end, I admit it, I was rooting like hell for Philly, and I thought for sure they were going to win it. That last second goal, it
Yeah.
was just
Well, that's the coach's fault because as soon as the Union got the lead, you got to bring in another defender, and
yeah,
you don't need two strikers when you're up a goal.
yeah,
Bring a defender in, take one off, but put a defender in, but
yeah.
I'm not the coach.
Here it is. Here's the question: is it exclusive? Apple TV app, the exclusive home to all live MLS matches. Of course, they're going to put in ads. I don't know how they'll do that because it's a running, probably on the side because it's a running clock.
Hmm.
Who has TV rights? MLS 2023. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's USL. It's not MLS. Expanded partnership through upcoming ESPN will carry all USL championships and USL League One games on ESPN Plus. No, we don't care about. I don't want to say we don't care, but the question was MLS.
I don't care what Brad says.
I don't. There we go. Now you join me. That might be the
There
first
you
time
go.
you've ever joined me.
That's the
It's me
first
having
one.
to click the YouTube. Yeah, both of us swear like motherfuckers. uh, yeah, and I just looked it up a different way, and it says, yeah, company's news MLS season pass, $13 a month or $79 for the season. It says.
Oh, 79.
Yeah, if you're already a subscriber to, it's 79 if you already subscribe to Apple TV, which I do. But I'm also paying $6.99 from Apple TV or $5.99. So it still costs
Yeah,
me
so
$5.
you won't get it because you only have Apple TV. So
Right,
you need
unless
to.
I pay the $79, where
Yes.
you would pay 99,
Right.
you would probably get just soccer, which makes no sense.
Right. I would just get the stock.
Right. Which in a way costs you because I can get it for 79 plus my $6 a month. So I'll get Apple TV and soccer for 85 a month. You're paying 99 just to get MLS.
Right.
Paying $15 more if you don't
And
get.
you're probably looking at, if they play like I think they play 40 games, so like
Yeah,
$2 a game. That's not. I
yeah.
mean, like it's not horrible, but
I was going to say $13 a month. That's not bad. I mean, it's still a lot cheaper than going to the game.
right.
I don't know
Oh
what
yeah, no doubt. No,
by the
it's
time you
much
go to
better.
a game and everything else. Here we go. Is MLS included in ESPN Plus? No. You can't watch MLS games on ESPN Plus. because of the exclusive season pass on Apple TV. So that answers the question. It's because last year it was on ESPN Plus, and it wasn't the main game on the championship game on ABC.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was on network TV. So that'll tell you how fast it's growing. And now, I hope I'm wrong, but I just see the fan base dwindling because it's not going to be available where it used to be.
Yeah. I mean,
I hope not.
it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know if it will be that much because people love that soccer. I mean,
That's true. That's true.
they love soccer. They ain't like
Wow, it's for 10
I don't want
years.
to I don't want to compare it to baseball, but
Right.
I think that the fans in soccer are more passionate and they'll want
Yeah,
you
the
know
passion's not
they don't
always
want to
there for
miss.
baseball until playoff time.
Right.
You don't
Right.
see too many sold out games, and some games if you're watching on TV, like you see Tampa Bay, you can hear echoes in the stadium and stuff. I mean, it's unless you're a winning team, it's not necessarily an exciting, rabid fan base. But when you do get a good team, but you're right about soccer. I think the fan base is way more passionate. Stadiums sell out. I mean, are they 40,000 seat stadiums? No, not all of them. I think the Union one's only about what, 15,000, 18,000.
What do they hold? Like I think it's like 18,000. I think.
Yeah. But it sells out.
Right. But yeah,
Uh,
they do.
they sell out,
Yeah.
and you go to you go to an MLS game. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. And let's face it, our country has acclimated itself to watching not just MLS, but ESPN's jumped in by Premier League and Champion League and
Yeah.
UEFA, and so it's a lot. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney bought rent them, and it's on FX as a like a documentary series, like every half hour, every so often they follow this third level low tier league, this low league team, and of course you're trying to get up,
Yeah.
but it's a team they bought, and they're interested in it, and they're doing what they can. But the rabid fan base from just the city, the town, is just enthusiastic as hell.
Yeah.
So it's still going to grow, and I hope the Apple deal helps rather than hurts. I like Apple, don't get me wrong, I do like it.
Mm.
There's a couple shows on there I like, not a lot, but a couple of them every so often I'll watch when they come out. I admit that I like The Mandalorian, which I didn't think I would, so I'm waiting for that to come the hell back out. But I fell into that trap. But yeah, they all have. That's the problem. They all have something. So you got a zillion of these little things, and they keep going. They're going to equal cable pretty soon. Be like, I'm
Right.
paying for
Yeah.
8 things. I might as well have just gotten cable. But then you don't get half of them because they're not included in your cable. So
Right.
it sucks. All right, we should end up. But
Yeah. All right, buddy.
$2.5 billion over 10 years is the Apple deal. So 10 years, it's going to be exclusive on Apple. So
Wow.
hopefully they can figure out a way to make it available and get it out there. So, all right, buddy. Next week, start looking at your baseball stuff, because
Yeah, I definitely have to do some
we'll
homework.
focus on making our picks and our playoff picks. And we'll see if we do one league or both next week.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll be in touch.
All right, buddy. Hey, for my pal Billy Smith, for Dennis and Graldi and the folks at Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland. Phone number 856-690-9482 for all your property and residential and business real estate needs. Make sure you contact those folks. All right, Billy. I will talk to you next week, pal.
You got it, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You too. Talk to you
All
then.
right. See you, folks.
Bye.